व्हाइट हाउस सामने गुलिकांड रे 2 जन नेशनल गार्ड को मृत्यु घटी। आक्रमणकारी को पशुओं सह तुलना करिसेंती अमेरिका राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप। आउ कड़ा सजा दियाजिबो बोली कहिसेंती। कौनसी प्रकार हिंसा को बर्दाश्त करा जिबोनी। एही घटना आतंकवादी कार्यकलाप। एही आक्रमण घटना पर समस्त अफगानिस्तान नागरिकों को अमेरिका भिसा उपरे बैन लगाई दैछंती ट्रंप। एही घटना को नहीं पूर्वतन राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन को टार्गेट करी ट्रंप कहिसेंती नेशनल गार्ड को जवान को गुली करथिबा पशु को बाइडेन ही नरक द्वार दे आनिछंती। एही आक्रमण एतिकी बेले होईची जेतेबेले व्हाइट हाउस रे थैंक्सगिविंग सेरेमनी लगी प्रस्तुति चलीथिला। आक्रमण बेले ट्रंप फ्लोरिडा रे थिले। घटना परे व्हाइट हाउस को लॉकडाउन कर दिया जायतिला।
My great fellow Americans, earlier today on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C. were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good.
आक्रमणीर ना रहमातुल्ला लकनबाल। 29 वर्षीय लकनबाल अफगानिस्तान मूल नागरिक। अचानक व्हाइट हाउस गोटे कोणरू से गुली करथिला। 2021 अफगानिस्तान रे तालिबानी शासन पर बाइडेन प्रशासन ऑपरेशन एलआईजी वेलकम नीति आधार में अमेरिका आसीथिला आक्रमणकारी लकनबाल। अफगानिस्तान में प्राय 2 दशक धरी मुतयन थिबा अमेरिका सैनिकों को प्रत्याहार निष्पत्ति नैथिले सरकार। एही प्रत्याहार अभियान बेले अमेरिका अनेक अफगानिस्तान लोकों को शरण देइथिला। ट्रंप कहिसेंती जेते प्रवासी 2021 रे अफगानिस्तान रो अमेरिका आसीचंती सेमानकर आउथरे जांच हेबो। एहा खोला हिंसा और टार्गेट अटैक थिला बोली अभिहित करिसेंती मेयर। आक्रमण पछर रहस्य एबे भी अंधार रे। आक्रमणकारीर अवस्था भी गुरुतर अछि। एफबीआई संभाव्य आतंकी हमला भावे एहार जांच करूछि।
I want to start by saying after those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America. Heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. I mentioned the faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr.
Appeals to heaven for our National Guardsmen, for their families, on bended knee as a War Department, as a nation.
Excuse me,
We will never back down. Don't be thinking about them right now.
ଏହି ଘଟଣା ପରେ ରାଜଧାନୀରେ 500 ଅତିରିକ୍ତ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଗାର୍ଡ ମୁତୟନ କରିବାକୁ ନିଷ୍ପତ୍ତି ନେଇଛନ୍ତି ଟ୍ରମ୍ପ। ଟ୍ରମ୍ପଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଆରମ୍ଭ ଆଣ୍ଟି କ୍ରାଇମ୍ ଅଭିଯାନ ପାଇଁ ଅନେକ ରାଜ୍ୟରେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଗାର୍ଡଙ୍କୁ ମୁତୟନ କରାଯାଇଛି। ଏହି ଘଟଣା ପରେ ଆମେରିକାରେ ଆଫଗାନିକ ଏଣ୍ଟ୍ରିକୁ ରୋକ ଲଗାଇ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ଟ୍ରମ୍ପ। ବ୍ୟୁରୋ ଇନପୁଟ ସହ ଶୁଭଦର୍ଶିନୀ ଓ ପ୍ରଦୀପ ନାୟକଙ୍କ ରିପୋର୍ଟ, ନକ୍ଷତ୍ର ନ୍ୟୁଜ୍।